Vice Chair Witten,
Here.
and Chair King.
Present. We do have a quorum, and we're fully constituted to consider House Bill 168. We have our fellow House member, Representative Ken Fleming. I do believe it's District 48 with us this morning. And would you like to introduce yourself and your guest for the record, please?
Sure will. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I really do appreciate the opportunity to bring this bill before you. This was heard in interim last year, and just for the record, I'm Ken Fleming, represent the 48th District, part of Jefferson, Oldham County. With me is Keegan's mother, Heather Yelton, and she wants to give sort of a background and experience that she went through in terms of this horrible situation that came up. So with that, Madam Chair, do you want me to go ahead and continue, or do you want to? What would your pleasure?
We do have a committee sub
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
eligible. Do I have a motion on the? Okay, Representative Witten and Representative McPherson, please. That's our first and second. Do everyone in favor of adopting the committee sub, please say aye. Aye. And any opposed, nay. So we do have the committee sub before us. Representative and your guest, if you can pull the mic just a little closer to you. That way we make sure and get all of your vitally important testimony before us all. Please continue, Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, I do appreciate the opportunity to speak before you. I wanted to, first of all, let me just address the committee sub to clear that out. Basically, we've changed one word on there. It's in section 3B, and basically in the original bill it says is involved, and we changed that to causes. And basically causes provides a little more clarity and direct focus on the operator of a motorboat or a vessel and so forth, where the is involved, it's sort of more of a broad brush approach. So we made that change. It was a good change. It came from Senator Storm in my conversations with him about doing that. So in the event, let me just give you just a preamble, and I'll turn it over to Heather. Being on the water for many years, I've seen a lot of situations, and obviously being on the water is supposed to be fun, exciting, family oriented and such. But unfortunately, things do happen. And we have to be mindful and careful in terms of operating the boat. Some of y'all know I fly, and I own a plane with a couple other friends, and I'm not going to stick myself or anybody else on the left seat of a plane and fly somebody around without license, without going through training, without going through those sort of things. Even a car, you have to have a license, and you have to go through testing and so forth. Well, in boating, you don't have to have a license. In fact, a lot of folks, under the age of 16 operate a vehicle. But we're not talking about that in particular. We're talking about basically being responsible and accountable and on the water, and adhering to being mindful of the surroundings of your environment and so forth. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to have Heather just sort of give you sort of a background of what she's experienced. And then after she talks, I'll go through the particulars of what the bill does and go from there.
Okay. Yep. Good morning. I'm Keegan's mom, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of my son and all families that have experienced tragedy on the water. On July 21st, 2023, my 12-year-old son Keegan was tragically killed in a jet ski accident on Nolan Lake. I got a call that Sunday afternoon, about an hour after the incident, that Keegan was hit by a jet ski and was being airlifted to Norton Children's Hospital in Louisville. The days that followed were a blur of grief, shock, and confusion. We got a very high-level story of what had happened. The mom was driving the boat, pulling Keegan and their son in a tube, and the dad was riding a jet ski and somehow hit Keegan on the tube. As the facts of the case came to light, the confusion turned to profound sense of injustice. The first responding officers did not arrive on the scene until over an hour after the incident. They took statements and conducted a basic field sobriety test, which the adult operators passed, but no blood work was ever done. Due to this critical gap in our current laws, my family will never know if drugs or alcohol were a factor in my son's death. Our experience has exposed a flaw in the system and leaves families vulnerable. When a boating accident is serious enough to cause a critical injury or fatality, the investigation should be as thorough as possible. And this is just not happening right now. That's why I'm here today with Representative Ken Fleming to ask for your support in helping pass Keegan's Law. This bill would make it mandatory for an adult operator to undergo a blood test after a serious boating or jet ski accident involving critical injury or death. I understand this may seem like a small change, but for my family and others like us, it would mean a lot. It would mean that my son's legacy is not just his tragic death, but a change that protects other victims and provides families answers that they deserve. So please consider this bill and help make our waterways safer for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your testimony with us this morning. Representative?
Thank you. Heather and I talked last year, and going through a conversation with her and do some research and look at a lot of things, I was really surprised that there are some laws that are really too relaxed on the water. But basically, this bill addresses two things. First of all, as Heather pointed out, if there's a fatality or serious injury, that law enforcement has the ability to seek a blood testing in order to do that. Now, they have to go through the process of getting a judge, show probable cause, and then based on the judge say, yes, there is a probable cause, go ahead and I'll issue a warrant in order to do the blood testing. If there's not probable cause in terms of the judge, then it doesn't. Then you don't proceed any further. But the law enforcement will go through, just like driving a car. You go through a process in terms of field sobriety tests. But with a boat, it's a little different. Probably the first couple of questions you ask when you're on a boat is like, one, do you have a whistle? Two, where's your fire extinguisher? And three, where's your life jackets? And based on that response from that individual, which I've had a law enforcement officer come up to me. Actually, I was fishing to make sure I had a fishing license, but he asked those questions, and you want to make sure that he looks like, or is this guy or girl being responsible? Do they know where things are? And if it doesn't come up, if there's some suspicion that this person is not reacting or slurring, then that will cause them to go to another series of questions in terms of field sobriety. And if it doesn't pass, then they have the authority to arrest that person. And then you go through and get a blood test based on getting a probable cause with the judge. So that's what this help will do. It gives the law enforcement officers some flexibility to make sure that what they're strongly suspect that they need to have some blood testing. The second part of this bill, which is much to my surprise, after talking to the colonel, and the colonel is here too. I just want to recognize him and thank him for what they do. And I know sometimes a little bit underappreciated, but I tell you what, they provide a very valuable service in making sure our waterways are safe, and they do a great job in what they do. But the second part of this bill, which, like I said, I was a little surprised, is that when a call is made in terms of 911, it goes to a local law enforcement dispatcher. Well, they will dispatch a local law enforcement officer, and they will go on the scene. But this accident or this situation occurs on the water. And so they don't have the apparatus, or they don't have the ability to go on the water to do some of those field tests and so forth. So the delay occurs. Now, in this situation, as Heather pointed out, she didn't get a call for I think an hour later. So in our discovery is that the Fish and Wildlife folks weren't called for an hour. And I found out they're telling me they were only like 5 or 10 minutes away from the actual incident. But they weren't called. If they were called, that 1 hour would have been down to 5 minutes, and then you can take more of a direct, take more of a quick reaction in terms of addressing the situation at hand. So what this bill does is that, given the Fish and Wildlife has a contract with the state police, the dispatcher of 911 will not only call local law enforcement, they also call the state police, and then they will dispatch Fish and Wildlife, and then that reaction time is significantly reduced. That's what this bill does. Those two things, and I appreciate that. I'll be entertaining a question.
We have a motion and a second on House Bill 168. So far, we do have one question, the first coming from Vice Chair Whitten.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Whitten, and thank you, Heather, for your testimony, and I'm so sorry for your loss. I did want to just clarify, in this situation, as the law is now, because they had a field sobriety test on site and they didn't flag this case, that's why it did not result in a blood test, and your bill would make that mandatory regardless of the field sobriety?
Yes, because it gives you confirmation that that things were happening. Now, one thing we're addressing is more alcohol, but you also have other substance. You also have drugs and so forth that will help support that going through and getting that blood test to see if there is any substance within the system.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Representative Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Heather, thank you for being with us today. Representative Fleming, thank you for filing Keegan's Law. Great bill. I'm going to ask a question that's fairly mundane. It just has to do with the fines and penalties. Section 1 lays out the penalties now align with a lot of the existing driving under the influence laws. Has that Section 189A ... Section 2 lays out some specific fines as well. Any conflicts there as the penalties are laid out, or is all of that congruent and won't show to be an issue should this come up?
Thank you, Representative Moore. And that's a good question. It's basically more congruent. It sort of It sort of interfaces and incorporates a lot of the DUI penalties along with the boat in order to do that. And basically, you'll see in Section 2.2 that was stricken out, but that's been sort of repositioned to put in Section 1.4 in terms of the fines, and that refers to the DUI, which covers a little more, I guess, a little tougher penalty than what's currently written here. And if you might know, you're attorney, correct? Oh, I thought you were. Basically, the Supreme Court ruled some time ago that a search warrant is needed. A search warrant is needed when you do a blood test, and that's part of the reason that we need to go through and make this modification to the bill.
Thank you for that explanation.
Yes, sir.
Representative Wilson.
Yes, I want to ask a couple questions, if that's okay. First, I want to say, first off, I'm so sorry, and thank you for being here. I wanted to confirm that the field sobriety test was given but passed. Is that what the testimony was? In that case, I'm not sure that this would, to get a search warrant, like you mentioned, you have to have probable cause. I'm not sure a search warrant would even be issued in that case. It'd be hard to reach probable cause if someone passed the field sobriety test. But my other question, if it's all right, Madam Chair,
Please proceed.
is regarding to the penalties. Would there be a license suspension in this?
Representative Wilson, there is no license issued for operating a boat.
Right, but where it directs to the DUI penalties, there are license suspension for DUI of a vehicle.
This is not a vehicle. This is a boat, and I've been operating a boat for many years, and I've never had a license. I've gone through training that the Fish and Wildlife has, but there's no repercussions of taking a license because there is none.
Right, I understand. I guess my question is, it doesn't take someone's driver's license.
No, it does not. No,
okay.
sir.
Thank you.
No.
If I may comment on the bill.
Please.
Thank you again for bringing this, and I do think you've addressed an issue. You found an issue here, And I've talked with my fellow legislators and some other people, and not about this particular, but just generally speaking. And sometimes we think, wow, it's kind of strange how we're too lenient on some things and too harsh on others. And I think you've uncovered something that we are too lenient on, that a boating under the influence is essentially the same as running a stop sign or failure to wear a seatbelt, where it's a violation and only a fine. However, the DUI penalties are the harshest penalties on the books for a misdemeanor. And so I would just want to bring to everyone's attention that we are going from a fine-only seatbelt type of violation to the harshest penalized misdemeanor on the books, to where one offense is mandatory jail time if there's an aggravator present. So I'd like to bring it to everyone's attention. I would personally be more comfortable if we just made it the same as like a Class B misdemeanor or a Class A misdemeanor instead of copying the DUI penalties. I hope that makes sense. I hope you understand my concern there.
I do. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, and I don't see anyone on the sign-up sheet. Oh, Representative Pollock.
Heather, thank you for your testimony. Couple things. I just want to make a comment, first of all, and that being, obviously, we present legislation like today, but it's also important that we enforce these bills and laws that we obviously pass here. And obviously the colonel's here today. It's important in my mind that obviously that we enforce these law. Obviously if it passes through committee, on the floor, throughout the whole process. So with the colonel being here today and Fish and Wildlife and that sort of thing, I just wanted to hear basically that you all are in support, that you're willing to take that act of enforcing this piece of legislation.
I'm not going to speak for the colonel, but he said yes, they will enforce that. It gives them a little more flexibility in terms of enforcing the law. Is that correct, Colonel?
Sponsor, if you would like to bring the colonel forward, he is most certainly welcome to do so. Thank you for your service. Thank you for taking time from your busy day to be here with us today on this important topic. If you'll just identify yourself for the record and please proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Jeremy McQuarrie, Director of Law Enforcement, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. To answer your question, Representative Pollock, we'll enforce all laws of the Commonwealth as they're written.
Thank you for saying that. I just wanted to make sure, because a lot of times we pass laws up here, and then again, it just kind of sits there, and I can go through a lot of different scenario situations, but obviously this is an important piece of legislation. To me, the process that you're bringing here today basically takes out the thought of alcohol or drugs being involved in the situation. It rules it out, yes or no, when the victim's family is dealing with this situation. So that's why I'm for this. Thanks.
Thank you.
Representative Gordon.
Thank you. Thank you for this measure, and thanks for being here today. I guess the piece that highlights me or speaks to me the most is the communication piece. As a mother, is there anything in the bill that is going to help with that communication aspect, where if it, occurs on the waters, that, like you told in the story, that the local departments that were notified did not in turn notify Fish and Wildlife? So is there anything that says you shall or may, encouraging that they would be the most appropriate law enforcement body?
Representative Gordon, yes, on Section 3, you'll find that addresses that, and I sort of alluded that a few minutes ago, that when a call is placed through 911, it will go to that dispatcher, and this bill the process will not only go to law enforcement, but also they'll be instructed that when you go through, and correct me if I'm wrong, Colonel, but when you make a phone call, obviously the dispatcher will say, what's your emergency? Where are you? This, that, and the other. And then they will make a determination of who to dispatch. And this right there, if they find the call is on the water or on the shore, then that call will be made to law enforcement as well as the state police, who will dispatch the colonel and his crew in order to get there in a more timely manner, instead of wasting them 1 hour. No, I'm going to say, but basically delaying it 1 hour so you have a quicker response. Particularly when you're out in the middle of a lake.
Thanks for addressing that. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative McPherson.
Yes, just quickly, I wanted to circle back around to Representative Wilson's question. So what I'm understanding is, even though they pass a field sobriety test, if there's injury or if there's death, will they automatically then have a drug test, blood test?
Yeah, I mean, they will have to they will have to go to the judge and show probable cause, and then they will issue that warrant and for them to do the blood test.
But I guess I'm circling back around to saying he's saying if they've passed the field sobriety test, he's saying that might not be the level of probable cause, but if you've had an injury, severe injury or death, would that trigger probable cause?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a fatality or a serious illness.
Okay, thank you.
Is that okay?
Seeing no further questions, Madam Secretary, please call the roll, or please call the vote. Thank you.
Representative Baker. Representative Chester Burton. Representative Dotson. Yes. Representative Fugit. Representative Gordon.
Yes.
Representative Lawrence.
Yes.
Representative Marzian.
I'm going to pass for now since I haven't had a chance to look it over really carefully. Thank you.
Representative Fearson.
Yes.
Representative Moore.
Aye.
Representative Pollock.
Aye.
Representative Tackett Lafferty. Representative Thompson.
Yes.
Representative Truitt. Representative Wesley.
Yes.
Representative Whitaker.
Yes.
Representative White.
Yes.
Representative Wilson.
Can I briefly explain my vote, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
I'm going to pass today. Especially Section 3 is so needed. Thank you for bringing that. I'm just concerned about how the penalties are going to interact with the boating aspect and with the driving aspect. If they're going to combine to cause more jail time. But I'm willing to work with you, and I hope I can be a yes on the floor. Thank you.
Representative Witten.
Yes.
Chair King.
Yes, ma'am. House Bill 168 does pass out of the committee and is now eligible for consideration on the House floor. Thank you for bringing this important topic and challenge to us, and look forward to seeing how the discussion continues. And thank you, Fish and Wildlife, for everything you do on a daily basis. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of Keaton's family, he was a wonderful individual, and his legacy will be memorialized in this bill of Keegan's Act. So I do appreciate your support, and thank you on behalf of the family.
Thank you. Do any committee members have other business to bring before us? If not, we are